If you're just tuning in, we're waiting on the Lakers to address the media. They're waiting for players to get ready and come out and address the media. So I do apologize for the delay if you're not able to hear the sound on this. But while we're waiting, we can, if you're in the stream, we can talk a little bit about the game stats and things like that. Just based off of the game notes. I mean, just tough, just an overall tough loss. You're looking at, the production off the bench. The bench did come in and score 42 points. The reserves, for the total, and that's the highest point total that the bench has scored this postseason. So, I mean, they can hang their hats on that. Behind LeBron James, he had 25 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. In a game like this, we're used to LeBron just taking over the match, and we need more production when AD is out. Whenever you have a superstar player such as AD, you need that other star to step up and produce more, because outside of AD and LeBron, I mean, this Laker team, let's just face it, it's a regular team. So highest point total, you had LeBron with 25 rebounds. LeBron led the team in rebounds with 12. He had his game high of 6 assists for the Lakers, and 3 steals were tied between the team and the LeBron. And blocks, you had Gasol, he had 3, and they just came up short. Well, hopefully they can bounce back next game and address some of the issues. But I mean, they came back, they got down in the third, ended up, coming back a little bit, but ultimately they didn't have enough production across the board from everyone else. In these types of matchups, you'd like to see LeBron step up a little bit more. Once AD was out, the offense kind of got a little stagnant. I honestly, it's hard for me to say that. I did, I didn't think the Suns would win this game. However, it's, I mean, I thought about that comment, just for the ratings, because I mean, let's face it, the Lakers are the better team. This is the Lakers are not a typical seventh seed. And what I was saying out there, I mean, you just see some of the defensive closeouts. You've seen some of them that, like, they're not even 6 feet in front of a man. Like, these are open shots that the Suns were taking. Like, we're not even seeing, players close out. I mean, it's almost like an all-star game defense. You know, um, it didn't look like the number one defense in the NBA today. I should say that. And it's really difficult to not it's difficult not to come to the conclusion that these games are being lost purposely to extend the series for the suspense aspect. So I mean, maybe you may have something there, Antonio, in the stream, but I'm not really particularly sure, because I would hate that to be the case, and then it damages the integrity of the NBA. Because I mean, I want to watch a competitive matchup, versus, if it's my team playing, they're not going to win every game. They're, it's it's the NBA. It's the game of, anybody, any given day, any team can beat anyone. We've seen it countless times before. But however, you do want to see a competitive matchup. You don't want to see a sweep all the time. You want to see, games go down to the wire, games being won off of a buzzer beater and stuff like that. Like that adds to the suspense, and it's just really difficult to see games being lost purposely, especially with the weak closeouts and things like that. News on AD coming from Coach Vogel, he did address the media and said that he's going to be reevaluated. A lot of times when they have these injuries, they don't really have a whole lot of details available immediately. Um, but it didn't look good. He strained his groin. I mean, you know how those groin injuries are. They're real tricky, and he was already dealing with injury going into the game. He was questionable going into this game. So I'm not sure how that would affect him in game 5. But I'm almost certain that it's going to be difficult to actually play in this game, knowing that he's dealing with a groin injury and a knee. I mean, it's just one injury after another. Once you start getting healthy and you see the team starting to look like they supposed to look, then the injury bug, comes in and rears its head, and guys are in and out of the rotation, and it doesn't look like the same team. So hopefully we'll be able to at least hear some good news during the week. But the information that we have right now is very, very limited because as it just happened and they're not really as transparent up front versus once the doctor evaluates and then they can give us more details. But it's definitely going to be a tough blow if AD can't go because this Laker team really goes as he goes. I mean, if he plays bad, the team doesn't respond well to that. If he's out, the team doesn't respond well to when he's out. I mean, even with when LeBron was out, I mean, the team was still winning basketball games. I don't see them really winning a whole lot of games without Anthony Davis. And not to say anything about LeBron's impact on his team, but it's just they was constructed around Anthony Davis. Once they got him, they kind of registered for Anthony. When Anthony got there, LeBron said that, this is your team. We run through you. Another good point, Kuzma and Markieff, I mean, they're missing point blank layups. And that's really difficult to watch because not even just, just from a competitive standpoint. I mean, this is the NBA. These are layups. I mean, you look at some of the, like I said, the closeouts. Even Phoenix, they wasn't really closing out well, on guys, and you've seen some of the matchups, and okay, they got a good move and get away and have space created, and you miss either a wide open shot or a layup. It's very difficult to watch. I mean, I don't know if it's fatigue or just lack of detail or whatever the case is. Whenever they're going up for these, I mean, that in my opinion, I mean, it's hard to say like a shot in the NBA is easy. I mean, all the shots are difficult, especially if you're on that level. But it's just really hard to watch, to see an NBA player miss a layup or airball a shot. I mean, hopefully that they can get this addressed, and hopefully that the adjustments can be made. But I was just looking at some of the roster and some of the lineups and the rotation that they're throwing out there. I'm wondering why Montrezl Harrell is not playing as often. That's very interesting. I would like to see him play more, especially if we don't see AD play or if AD is not available to play. Definitely need to see more Montrezl Harrell. I'm not sure what the situation is with him. I don't think he's injured or anything like that, but I'm hoping that eventually we can get more news as to why he's not playing, or hopefully, the coach will be able to look at this game and look at some of the stats and look at the impact that Trez Harrell does have, because they definitely need that shock. They need instant offense, and Trez can provide you a spark. Now, I wouldn't say start him. He's good coming off the bench and providing that impact, but I mean, it's just definitely, hard to, understand why a guy that can put up, 10, 15, 20 points in a ball game, shift the ball game and not put him in. He can give you something on offense, definitely give you something on defense, and you just need that energy and that spark. But I guess we'll see. Easily, easily. I definitely agree with you on that, Antonio. Would love to see him play a little bit more in this series because he's definitely going to be needed. And I'm looking at some of the games, and he's DNP, DNP, DNP. I'm like, man, wow, they need that energy. I mean, that's why you get a guy like Montrezl Harrell to provide that spark. He's the reigning six man of the year. I mean, he can play. And I think that he can provide that spark, and especially if they go smaller, he definitely can, go and give you some instant offense. So definitely would love to see him play a little bit more in this matchup. I do apologize. We're definitely still waiting on more players. I think that what's going on is they're possibly getting dressed and ready to address the media. I'm not sure who's coming up next. So look at more of the actual stats. I mean, it's just really hard to understand this game. It was really you thinking that once they start making that comeback push, things were going to be a little bit more different. But I mean, the way that third quarter was going, they were just getting. It was just a free for all. You could just tell, like they wasn't closing out. They wasn't playing a whole lot of defense. It was just very difficult to understand the rotation and exactly what the coaches were trying to accomplish with some of the guys that were out there. I do. I mean, I think the reason. I mean, it looks like they're playing dirty, but I think it's because their lack of defense. Like I don't think they know how to play defense. I mean, this team is really good on the offensive side of the ball, but when it comes to defense, they really lacking that department. And I think the dirty play is really attributed to the inability to do play professional level defense. And that's not a shot. That's not me, saying anything against the Phoenix Suns organization. I just think that a lot of times when you start swiping at the ball or you're doing like all these erratic plays and things like that, it just shows that your lack of attention to detail when it comes to the defensive side of the ball is just not there. Your defensive acumen is very deficient. And when you start seeing guys swiping at the ball or making erratic moves or anything like that, and you know they're getting beat and they're trailing, grabbing and pushing and shoving and things like that. It is a physical game. Basketball is very physical, but some of the things and the fouls that you're seeing and some of the excessive things that you're seeing in the games is really, it could be dirty, but it could also be deemed that they are um, deficient when it comes to playing professional level defense because they prioritize offense. That's my take. That's my interpretation of why you would see teams, play like that. In my opinion, it's a good question. By the way, if you're just not coming to the stream, we're doing the Lakers post game, and we're waiting on players to address the media. But if you're on the live stream currently, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because right now we are covering the Lakers, but also we're doing Memphis Grizzlies this year. We're also covering the WNBA as well. So we've got a lot of things going on the channel. So go ahead and hit that subscribe. Make sure you got the bell notification on so you know when I go live. If you enjoy Laker content, we're also covering the Lakers throughout the playoffs. Hopefully they make a deep push this year. You know, I'm very optimistic about the odds, because there are a lot of teams that have gotten better. It's going to be very tough for the Laker team to repeat the title, but I've seen how this team looks whenever they pull it all together. So we're definitely hoping that that's the case. Because currently, right now, I mean, they putting out the product that we've seen in the third quarter of this game. It's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough to be able to say that they're going to be the title favorites. And you just can't really just tell, because of the stagnant offense and the closeouts that you're seeing. Like, that's not championship level defense that we're witnessing. That's just like we're the Los Angeles Lakers, and we're just going to beat whoever's in front of us, and that's just not a mindset that you want to take on. Another question in the stream: Dallas and the Clippers. I did pick Dallas to win the series. And the only reason why is because I don't like the Clippers. I just don't like the way they play, because they play very well in the regular season, but in the postseason, I mean, they just fall apart. And the only reason why I say I don't like them is because the way they play as if they've accomplished something, and they have that mentality, kind of similar to what you see from the Lakers. Whenever they feel like a team is inferior, and they don't take that team seriously. That's what you're seeing with this Dallas series. You're seeing a lot of that. And the main thing that I feel like with the Dallas Mavericks, they're not afraid of the Clippers. They played them last year, and they felt like they should have beat them in that series last year. And they had good reason to feel that way. Dallas needs Kristaps Porzingis to turn into the unicorn. He turns into the unicorn. It's really tough to beat Dallas. My predictions tonight, I do think that Dallas could beat the Clippers tonight. I'm not 100%. I would definitely have to see how they come out. But I don't think Luka can carry this team through a series, the entirety of a series, to put a team away as deep as the Clippers, because the Clippers are very deep. They can roll out there with any lineup, but a lot of them are living off of past reputations. Kawhi and Paul George are not the defenders they once were. Patrick Beverly is definitely not the defender that he proclaims to be anymore. I don't even think he ever was. That's just my opinion. So I do think Dallas will probably beat the Clippers tonight. But it just all depends on the rotation that they're gonna go with, and if Kristaps Porzingis can channel the unicorn tonight. If he can, he's gonna Luka and KP is gonna have to both combine for at least 65 to 70 points. And if you got them two, combining for 65 to 70 points, there's nobody in the NBA that can beat them then, because they definitely can light it up if both of them are on. It's a great question. Oh no, we haven't heard from LeBron just yet. The only players that we've heard from was, I think Kuzma was the first player that was up, and we heard from Coach Vogel. We have not heard from LeBron just yet, so we're still waiting and patiently waiting for any news or any updates to who's going to be up. Good question. LeBron's up now.
All right, Tanisha, ready when you're ready.
All righty. Mike Trudell.
Hey, LeBron, what was most notable without D as you got started the third quarter in the game plan with them versus without? Two totally different things. How did you guys try to adjust on the fly today?
Well, obviously you have a game plan going into a game. How you want to execute offensively and defensively. And, the one thing that you can't predict if one of your, focal points go down. And obviously, that was big for our team. It was try to adjust on the fly after having a game plan was challenging for us. And more importantly, the health of AD is what's most important for our ball club.
Just with the uncertainty of him surrounding this going into Game 5, LeBron, how did you approach as a leader with the rest of the group, and what is the key in the film room as you guys try to come up with the formula?
Well, it's next man up, and obviously, if he's not ready for Game 5, it's going to be a tough blow for our ball club. But next man up, and we've made that all year, and we have to be like that in the hostile environment in Game 5.
Dave.
Hey, LeBron. So the next man up obviously would be referring to who would take his place in the lineup. But if AD plays and he's limited, or even if he doesn't play, how does your role? How does that fluctuate as the series moves forward?
We'll see.
Bill.
LeBron, you went through a groin injury 2 years ago that obviously kept you out for a long time, and obviously two different groins here. Based on your experience with that injury, what does that do to kind of your ability to be optimistic about what AD might be able to give you the rest of the way and in this series?
I don't know the severity of his groin injury. I have no idea. I haven't talked to him, so I'm not quite sure. I tore my groin on Christmas Day in Golden State. Rehab until I was able to get back on the floor, and still wasn't where I was before I tore. My first year with the Lakers. So I worked my tail off in the off season. Just to get back to playing at a unrestricted, level. So I can only speak from my experience. I don't know the severity of his injury. And until we know, I'm not going to comment on it.
Dan.
LeBron, what's it going to take for you guys offensively to get on track here? This has been kind of, 4 games now where the shot making hasn't been there. What are you seeing, and what needs to change?
Sometimes it's coming down to knockdown shots. We're getting some great looks, and obviously I'm going to take a look at the film when I get back home after I wake up from a nap. But and see other ways maybe we can exploit their defense. They're giving us some good looks, and we're just we're not knocking them down. So we've had this happen before in the past, and but we always trust each other. We're going to trust the pass, get the ball moving from side to side, and trust our shots, and get up there and knock them down.
Kyle.
LeBron, you had those plays in the first half, the spin move to the dunk, the lob off the backboard from AC. How are you feeling in that stretch? And does you kind of being able to physically get to that level kind of add to the frustration of a guy like AD going out in the second half? That just seems like this year, once you got getting it together, it's just something else happens.
I feel pretty good. Continue to work on my body, continue to work on my ankle, continue to work on my pace, and continue to work on everything that held me out for so long. Every day I'm putting in timeless work on my body, especially my ankle, on just trying to get it back to full strength, and being able to test out on the floor, it helps a lot. So, like I said, it's been a roller coaster for us all year, especially with injuries. And we hope this one isn't a big one. But like I said, it's next man. We look forward to the challenge.
Okay, we'll take 4 more. Mark Medina.
LeBron, Frank was noting, his time in Indiana, there were times when you were with Miami and Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh would be out, and that meant that you'd have even more responsibilities, and that's obviously a dangerous scenario. I was wondering to what extent you draw from those experiences that it can apply to this current situation.
Well, listen, the best teacher of life is experience. So, me personally, I look for the challenge, whatever. However the hand is dealt, be ready to play it.
Ramona.
Hey, Bron, I say this as a 41-year-old, so I certainly don't mean to say that you're older, but at 36, how wide are those shoulders still? Can you do this at this age and carry the team if AD is not able to do to be out there?
For me, it's putting our team in position to be successful. It starts with my approach, starts with my accountability, trickles down to everybody else. So, these shoulders are built for a reason. And, if it takes me to put some more on top of it, then so be it. Win, lose, or draw. I'm ready for the challenge.
Last 2, Jovan.
Hey, LeBron. You guys obviously played half the season without AD. So if it does go to that scenario, what did you learn about the team that stretch of 40 games and some of the stylistic differences with AD on versus off?
I'm trying not to even go back to that moment. Obviously, yes, like you said, we played half the season without them. They also played extensive time without me. So we would have to go back and look. How ways we were really good when he was out, and how we played. It would change our dynamic, obviously, of how we play. It would change our approach to how we play. We just have a game plan and we go out and execute.
Last question, Dwayne.
Yeah, LeBron, obviously lots made of AD being out, but you guys were right there. If Schroeder makes a layup, you guys are only down 5 with about a minute and a half left. How much can you guys take from that finish to get to that point to carry over into Game 5?
Well, every possession needs to feel like it's their last. That's just what the playoff basketball is all about. And, 5-point swing right there. Like I said, Diaz makes that layup, which he's 99% of making a layup right there in front of the rim. He misses it. It kind of let the sails out as they go down. Jay Crowder hits 3 by their bench, timeout. The game is, pretty much over at that point. It's a quick 5-point swing. So we stuck with it. We stuck into it. We, kept on fighting back and got stops after stop after stop. Still made it a game, but they played well. I tip hat to them. They came in, they played extremely well. And, it's going to be a big-time Game 5 on Tuesday.
Thanks, LJ.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the Out of Bounds Sports Podcast, special edition of Post Game. That was LeBron James addressing the media. We are going to meet back for Game 5. If you want to come back to the stream later on, I am covering the Las Vegas Aces in the Fever game, WNBA. So we're going to be back later on today for that, but we are going to have Game 5 coverage here on the channel as well. If this is your first time tuning in, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, hit that bell notification so that you can get all my latest content. And we're going to catch you on the next one. If you want to back on that Fever, I definitely will be covering that. Just come back, and we're going to be live breaking down that game. And until then, we'll see you Game 5. Thank you for listening, and we're out.
If you love the Out of